Thanks for locking in with 77 Flavors of Chicago. We're your hosts, Dario.
And I'm Sarah, and I hope you're ready to learn with us.
Yeah, buddy. Today we're talking about the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. Y'all know about it, but how do you know about it?
You know what I mean?
That's what we're going to talk about. But how you doing?
I'm riddled with anticipation.
Yeah, right. We definitely are. This is honestly, I'm excited for this episode because this is one that I've been talking about for a long time.
Right.
Wanting to do
That's
a timely
why
episode.
I'm excited.
I know that. I'm getting to that because we also are going to Greece. It's like bittersweet. I want to be able to like take time with this one, but we going to Greece.
Well, we're not going to Greece today.
We going to Greece, and like by the time y'all hear this, we on the
it will be
we could be on the plane. If you listen at midnight, all right, we still in Chicago. But
right.
if you a Tuesday person, we still in the air, about to land.
Yeah.
Yeah, we about to land.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. That's maybe not. If you listening, Tuesday.
It's 8 hours.
Yeah. Tuesday. We might have been touched down by now. So anyway, I'm doing good too. I feel the same way you do.
Yeah.
Shit.
So excited.
We need this vacation. It's been man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we limped to this finish line. I ain't gonna lie.
Limp.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. But I'm very excited. We had a pretty good week.
We did.
Trying to get all our work done before we go so we don't have to work while we're on vacation.
Yeah, we did some fun stuff.
So next week's episode is already recorded for you.
Yeah. That's a fun one.
That's a very fun one.
Yeah, it is a very fun one. It's one of our tour episodes. I feel like we've given like
a couple,
like maybe four or five tours
right
on the podcast.
Yeah.
A listening tour.
Yeah.
It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, we did one in Evanston. Mm-hmm. One in...
Realistically, we kind of did one. No, that wasn't one. I was about to say
where?
Jane Addams. We didn't do that. Wasn't one. The
kind of.
auditorium.
We were in her bedroom.
Right. Yeah, I guess.
The Lyric Opera.
Auditorium.
And then the Glessner House.
Right. Jeffrey Bear.
Jeffrey Bear. Well, yeah. No, but
that's right. That's right. We did go back. Yeah.
There.
Yeah, we've given a few tours.
I mean, a little bit in Lockport. We did that museum in Lockport.
Right. Yeah. It's been yes, that's right. I forgot about that. Oh. Pretty dope time, y'all.
We love house museums in general, so we've done a ton of those. I feel like
house museums are really cool. I don't think they get enough play.
Cool. Yeah,
very cool.
I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a huge museum that you spend the whole day in.
Yeah.
But a house museum where you're in and out in an hour.
Yeah.
Or hour and a half is like my favorite.
And
I love seeing how people lived.
Exactly. Well, not just seeing it, being in their house. And a lot of the houses in Chicago are really good, really well upkept. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they have a lot of the original stuff.
Is it upkept or kept up?
It's upkept. The upkeep. The upkeep.
But if a house has been upkept,
yeah, right. Yeah,
kept up.
No, upkept.
No,
it's upkept. Watch this. Let's see. Upkept.
You should be like, can you use upkept as an adjective?
Upkeep. Okay, hold on. Let's see if it's past definition.
Adjective?
What's the past? Past tense.
I think it's kept up.
Upkeep. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Normally I'm good on these. This might be the first one you got me. Yeah, no,
the first one.
It's the first one you got me.
It's not true. You say confiscate almost all.
Yeah, well, no. We talking about the challenges on live. That's what we talk about.
That was live.
That was not live.
Yes, it was.
Compensate. That's just how I say it.
No.
Upkeep got to be somewhere. I can't think this L.
It's not an
What the hell Wiktionary talking about upkept? I mean, it's see, there you go. Somebody had kept up.
Yeah.
Is upkept a word though?
No. Upkept makes no sense.
I mean, but it would be past tense of upkeep.
Yeah, but upkeep is not like one. I mean, it is one word, but upkeep is.
Where you going with this?
I don't know.
But you just know that upkept ain't a word. That's what you do know.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound.
Yeah, well, you're right on this one.
It's been.
That's what you want. You know what's crazy is like when it's loud as fuck to us, but that's not loud to people.
You don't know that?
I do know that because like I listen back to it when I
don't listen with your headphones in.
But I listen to like it's like the same level of us.
No, but with your headphones in, it's different.
It's not though.
It is.
I promise you. I promise you, it's not.
I don't know about this, but it's listening to things with headphones in is a different experience.
It is, but like
things are louder with headphones.
What I'm saying is, when I go through editing, the volume of that is lower.
Saying.
So that means the headphones wouldn't be different. Mm-hmm. you said, right. Yeah. Look at this. You said I'm just gonna let them have this one. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right, y'all, man. I'm actually really excited to get into this because the Chicago fire is one that is a literal defining moment in Chicago history. It is not just Chicago history, world history.
Right.
Like this was an event that really changed the world, and not only Chicago. So I have a particular affinity for the Chicago fire because it is such an identity piece in Chicago. I have it tattooed, the theory, the myth on my arm, the cow knocking over the lantern. I have that tattoo, but I also have another cool tattoo we'll talk about when we get to that point. But we want to get into it. I want to get into it with some quick facts because this episode is not about the Chicago fire, like the details of it. This is what actually happened. What was going on
before and after
during the Chicago fire? How did it spread? Just so y'all can have like an even more detailed idea, right, of what's going on. Plus, we got some really cool numbers. So, just to start out with the Chicago fire, right? If you don't know, or if you do know, just a refresher, it happened 1871, October 8th. At night, right around 9 o'clock, 9:30, is when said cow from Mrs. O'Leary, Catherine O'Leary, something happened. Whether the cow knocked it over or something started burning up from her crib, right? And it spread throughout Chicago over the next 3 days, 2 days really, the 8th, 9th, and 10th, when it fizzled out right around 4 in the morning on the 10th, and killed 300 people. 100,000 people displaced, $220 million of damage in Chicago at that time, which is about $5.5 billion. It's almost $6 billion today.
Right.
So that's just an overview of what's going on, right? But let's start at the top. October 8th.
Yeah, let's. Well, actually, I kind of want to jump back to like July.
Yep, that's what I was thinking
of that year.
100%.
So Chicago was going through kind of a drought. We had 1 inch of rain throughout the entire summer, which is very unusual.
Yeah.
For today.
Right. Well, not unusual today because we got dry spells now.
No, but back in the day, get like summer storms a lot.
Yeah, now, I guess we do.
So 1 inch of rain is crazy, especially since it's like marshy.
Right.
You would think you'd think it would be rainy.
And Chicago was built up.
Yeah.
Not, wooden, but it was built up. It was built up, so it wasn't like it was like
marsh.
Yeah, right.
No, but I mean like there's water.
Right, there's water, right.
It should rain. I don't know if that's how it works, but someone's gonna be like,
it's moist is what you're trying to say.
It is.
Moist.
It is. Sorry.
No.
But yeah, so it had gotten 1 inch of no, sorry, because people hate the word.
Oh.
It had gotten 1 inch of rain throughout that summer. It was very, very dry. Obviously, as we know, everything was made out of wood. The streets were wood. The houses were wood. Everything. A few buildings were made out of stone. And some of you might know that one of them is Water Tower. That's why it survived.
Limestone.
Yep, exactly. Joliet limestone.
Joliet limestone.
Which, if you want to learn about that, you should go back to that episode because we visit that stone.
Where it came from.
That stone factory where the stone came from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everything was made out of wood. So perfect condition. You had wood, dry, and obviously windy.
And so that's what basically happened, right?
It was like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, right. Chicago was a matchstick. It was just waiting to burn down. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, and you got to think about like the mentality of people building shit up, right? You're not thinking that like, oh man, this whole city could burn down. You're not. I gotta believe. Well, I know nobody back then was like
a fear
of
burning
that
down.
wasn't a thought process. Maybe some people were like, man, we got a lot of wood in this town. Maybe it's cautious. You were probably cautious, but like. You were still, farmers were still doing farmers. Things had lanterns and like, it went a long time without burning down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
relatively 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, like that's a long time to not have an accident, a major accident like that. I mean, a catastrophe, I should say.
Right.
So,
and like fire departments existed.
Right.
There were fire departments that worked. There were fire trucks.
It was doing their thing. Now, the day of October 8th, everybody doing their thing, man. It's a regular day.
Well, believe it or not, the day before there was a fire.
Right. Yes.
And so that the day before there was a fire, and so all of the trucks were already out, depleted. These trucks ran on coal.
Yeah.
Right. So they weren't like steam engine.
Yeah. So Chicago,
I guess they were steam engine.
What's crazy is we had a little micro fire. You know what I mean? Like, so it was a normal thing. October 8th, at night, you living your life, you doing your thing,
it's
and
like 9 p.m.
9 p.m. all of a sudden, you Catherine O'Leary. Now here's some context behind Catherine O'Leary. Also, shout out to the Chicago History Museum. We actually went in there and saw this exhibit, the this City on Fire, the Great Chicago Fire Story. Man, go there.
Check it out.
It's dope.
It's so cool. The exhibit runs through January, so you still
January
have time.
2025.
And there are some free days for Illinois residents.
So,
excuse me. So you can go in.
You have to go.
Check it out.
Gotta go. It's a must. But anyway, she was already not too liked by people because she was Catholic and her Irish, and just her being was not rubbing people the right way.
And she would like stand up for herself.
Yeah, vocal woman.
People hated that. She was a Catholic Irish woman.
Way back in them days. You hate vocal women now. Right. And then like here, look, her back in the day. So she already had, under the radar. Ain't it a coincidence that a goddamn fire started
in that area?
In that area, right? I'm gonna say in that area. I mean, it was her place. I mean, that's where it pinpointed, right? It's her place. So that much we do know. And it spread to burn down a whole city. Which, if you're her, you got to be like, this is a fucking joke. Right. You know what I mean? Now, at that point, we saw a map of where the fire was. It started by her house over there in DeKevin and Jefferson, of on the West Loop area. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it spread. It spread how far?
Yeah, I mean, it traveled all the way to Lincoln Park eventually. Well, before
let's do just 8
in like 3 hours. It was to the loop
by like 11. I think they got it 11:59 p.m.
Yeah, an ember jumped the river.
Yeah,
it was wild.
There's the wind.
Yeah, and so it burnt all the way to the loop, and then by the next morning it had reached Lincoln Park.
That's now we October 9th. So now you think about this, y'all. It had to jump the river once,
and then again.
Yeah. Like, so what was engulfed in that?
Because it jumped the South Branch and the North Branch.
Well, no, it jumped the South Branch and then the main branch.
Oh, yeah.
So it jumped the South Branch on the 8th, right? The night of the 8th. And then October 9th, it was passing the main branch, right? It's crazy because you see like what was like engulfed. Like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Palmer House was safe as far as the 8th was concerned.
Right.
But then the next day, Palmer House gone.
Yeah.
Like it's burnt. It's burned down.
Yeah. So many places. I mean, we've done an episode on the building that was the Central Standard Time building. Mm-hmm. That was burnt down.
Yeah.
In the fire. There's so much, and there's a whole list of which we'll share with you in a second, of some places that were burned down. But so it reached Lincoln Park, and the reason that obviously firefighters were out trying to put it out, but the reason they couldn't was because the way the fire alarm system worked was basically people were on the roof and
like watchtowers.
Yeah, and they would be given a signal, almost like a flag, and they would then dispatch to that area, but they dispatched to the wrong area.
Yeah, and which is crazy because you've never heard a story about like where were the firefighters? You've never heard that story about Chicago because that would be inaccurate. Like they were doing their job. You know what I mean? Like they actually were on time to where they thought they needed to be.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, that was the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And so the city just got out of control. By the time they were able to get to where it was just too late. It was too late when
it
you got
too big.
It was too big. It had grown too fast. And then yeah, do it. I'm gonna do it.
That's what she said.
And then, so now that's the whole 9th, October 9th. October 10th, it stopped right around 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Is when it stopped burning.
We got a little bit of rain.
A little bit of rain, a little bit of drizzle.
Stopped.
And so it stopped the fire. And at that point, it was all the way up to Lincoln Park.
Yeah. But we do have to mention that, like, the idea that it was Mrs. O'Leary's cow was perpetuated by a newspaper.
Yeah,
like,
that wasn't right.
And it was almost like debunked immediately. That it wasn't like her cow tipped the lantern over. Like, yeah, it was in her barn, but like it wasn't, like she didn't, I don't know. She was blamed for something that she didn't necessarily do.
I will say, going to the exhibit, we obviously not going to talk about the exhibit a lot because we want you to see it. We're going to talk about something else that's really, really freaking cool. But in the exhibit, I don't know if you noticed, baby, but they had what they believe is the actual cowbell from the cow.
Right.
And it was all charred and burnt up.
Yeah.
And then you could see it right there. Mm-hmm. And they had a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. They had a lot of artifacts of things that had like melted together, or like keys to to doors that burnt down and stuff like that. It was kind of cool and ominous at the same time.
Right. I mean, like,
it's kind of sad to because people obviously the next day, once the fire was over, people had to go back and kind of look for their stuff.
I mean, the people that was left.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, only 300 people died.
Only 300 people died.
But like the 100,000 people that were displaced were now going back to their homes, and their businesses trying to see if what's left of their stuff, and to go back and just see like your key or you know what I mean, like
all your shit,
or all your spoons fused together or whatever. I can't even imagine what that was like. And even like the night of, in the part of the exhibit, it talks about how people wrote letters, kind of like explaining how they felt, and it was just chaos because people did not know where to go. I mean, the fire was traveling so fast.
Yeah, you had artists that were actually drawing the fire in real time,
like an actual pencil sketch artist, and those sketches are in the museum. You can go check them out. It's very, very cool.
Unreal. Now, here's what a cool part about this episode is. Of course, 77 Flavors of Chicago ain't gonna give you crust level. You know what I mean? We're not gonna give you crust level. We give you the whole pie. We went to probably our favorite museum, library, the Newberry Library. Shout out to them. They always have what we need when we're looking for it. We went, and guess what we got, y'all? Because we're talking about what happened, what was in that moment.
Yeah.
We have the actual newspaper from October 11th.
Right.
The day after the fire started burning, from Chicago Tribune.
The way it ended.
After it ended, right? October 11th, 1871. And, of course, you got to imagine Chicago is like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on?
It's a large paper.
Right.
Not like large multiple pages, but it's like in size. It's big. We posted, if you want to watch our YouTube video, we're there. We take you into the library. We show you the paper. You can see it. And if you want to check it on our Instagram, it'll be in our highlights.
Tell them what's in it.
But it starts by kind of like going hour by hour as to what happened during the fire. So it starts from 9 p.m. And it talks about what was lost, how many people died. They still don't know at this point. Yeah. They're estimating how many people have died. At that point, I think they had said like over 100. But obviously, we know that it was triple that. Yeah. They talk about like what businesses did not survive. Right. And they mentioned that, sorry, we couldn't publish. Right. Because there was nowhere to publish from. Yeah. And a lot of businesses that did survive, or people that were looking for people, said, hey, if you see this, I am waiting for you at this time in this building. Come find me. Like they've lost family. They can't find people.
It's a lot of crazy stuff in there. Like at one point, and now this, I mean, looking at the paper and looking at it, I mean, kind of, it's eerie as fuck to me. Yeah, you like to hold the paper from that day after. Yeah. And this one is laminated. It's laminated because this is the only one, I'm sure, still left in Chicago somewhere, right? One of the few, if there's any more.
I'm sure the Tribune has an archive.
I'm sure they got something in archives, right? But there's one at Newberry, and it's laminated. But like, you could read the psyche of people. There's a section in there, y'all, that was basically talking about this was kind of good for Chicago in the sense of all the bad people got what they deserve. Yeah. We're not even joking. That's literally what they say.
Can you imagine?
I couldn't imagine like going through all that shit, and that made the print. That made the print. I mean, but you know what that means? You know what that means? There was so much anger and so much sadness going on at that point. They were just pointing the finger at anybody,
What's crazy is that actually I found the opposite in that paper. It was a lot of hope. They were there was a lot of like, don't give up. Like, yes, we went through this and it sucked, but like Chicago's strong. Mm-hmm. So
speaking of cheering up and hope, that's perhaps my favorite piece in the whole paper and the whole outcome of this. I'm gonna read you something because it's really cool. I'm gonna read that article. This was in the newspaper for that day, right? It says, cheer up. In the midst of calamity, without peril in the world's history, looking upon the ashes of 30 years accumulation, the people of this once beautiful city have resolved that, in all caps and all bold, Chicago shall rise again. And there it goes on from there, and it is it's crazy, man. Like the stuff that is said in there. However, the reason why I bring that up, like to your point, 100% resolve, 100% hope. You know what I mean? Like in Chicago's mentality is the I will mentality. We talked about that with Chicago flag, but it's I will, right? And like that's indicative of everything. Yeah. But the reason why I really like that a lot is because I even got that tattooed on my arm. Paraphrase the hell out of it. Didn't get the whole thing on my arm, but I have cheer up, Chicago shall rise again, right? And that is. I feel
like that's the essence of it, though.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like it's a good kind of paraphrasing of it.
It's the essence. Now, some other cool things in there is you probably know that Chicago. We got a lot out of. We got everything from the Chicago fire, right? We got the world-class architecture that we have. We have
the new shoreline.
Everything. The new shoreline. Literally everything.
What are you going to say?
I was going to say, but one of the best things that we got out was the help from other people to kind of get us back on the feet. One being the Chicago Public Library. I don't know if y'all know that, and I know we mentioned on the podcast. Who knows if y'all listen to all of them, right, in detail. But Chicago Public Library, it was because of the UK, donated a lot of the books to kind of like restart Chicago, and that's where the Chicago Public Library came from.
Yeah. One other really interesting one, which we've mentioned before, I think when we did the University of Chicago episode, was when we talked about how people started claiming land that wasn't theirs. Because those records got burnt up and they did not exist anymore. So if you owned a piece of land, someone could be like, no, I own this. Yeah, right. And like if you're not there to claim it, someone could just take it.
Could you imagine?
Right. No, I can't.
I couldn't imagine.
I would be livid.
What's crazy is like, we asked that question. I asked that question. Could you imagine? And obviously, what's going on. But like seeing the newspaper and seeing what happened and like seeing how those people were and like the thought process literally the day after, man, I don't know if I could have made it in them times. I couldn't have. I mean, because like, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, all your shit gone. There's homelessness everywhere. Yeah. You got the sun and moon still rise and set.
And, they did mention that like for the homeless people that if your house burnt up, whatever, these are the places you can go to get resources, which.
Now speaking of resources, we did have the help from a few significant cities, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Pittsburgh. There was another one also. I know here.
It was a good list. Yeah. The article mentioned all of the cities that like helped and gave money.
Yeah.
And so it was a good list of cities. I feel like.
I mean, they were
not New York. Yeah, now it's playing. I don't know. I can't remember.
I mean, here's the thing with New York. We was taking their people. Their people was coming here anyway. You know what I mean? Like to help get this city off the ground. But that's really dope. To kind of like see like what I've always wondered what the hell was in that newspaper the day after because I've only seen the little snippet.
Right.
But the cheer up thing is like really the main thing that's online. But like it was dope to see something else that was in the article the day of like October 8th, right? Obviously, newspaper are printed in the morning, so they had no fucking clue that the city was about to burn down later on that day. That's crazy even to say, right? Yeah. But there was a part there, and I know you said it. We said it already. It was a fire before, but it says "Great Fire."
Right.
It says
the morning of the 8th.
Morning of the 8th. It says Great Fire on the paper.
And it was referencing the fire from the day before.
Yeah. And I like when you see that, you like, holy fuck, this is scary. Now now that's
meditation.
Right. Manifestation.
Manifestation.
Now here's something else, y'all. So we not just want to do the days of, and obviously there's no paper records, newspapers for the 9th and the 10th. There's none. Obviously. Right?
How could they?
They couldn't do it. But what we did was, what was it like? What was the thought process a year later? Okay, like Chicago had a whole year to rebuild, and like what was that mentality coming up to that anniversary? Right. And so, guess what we did find in the same library? The newspaper from October 9th, 1872. And it's a huge spread now, right? It's a probably, I want to say, a 20-page spread front and back, right?
Right.
Of a lot of things. And I don't know if this is official or anything. I don't want to claim it, but according to the headline in the paper that we read, October 9th, they said the anniversary of the Chicago fire. Now, that could be just, we're roughly around the year. This is the anniversary thing, blah, 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 blah. It could be that, right? Or it could be that's what they deem the Chicago fire because, like, it had spread right around midnight.
Right.
So that could be.
They're like, that's the official 24 hours.
That's the official 24-hour countdown start. Also, at that point, Chicago Tribune hadn't burned down. I'm sure they were in scrambles, but they were like, well, we can't do shit today. Right. Yeah. So that's a little side note. But anyway, in that paper, they talk about the anniversary, and there's great detail on kind of like memoriam of the buildings that Chicago lost.
Because now they have had the time to go and
assess everything. I mean, this thing is detailed, y'all. There's an account for the different buildings. One being the the Grand Pacific Hotel. That's got a whole. I'm sure you've probably seen. We've used the image that we got online, and you got it in the paper. I should also say, this paper is bound. So I touched the actual paper, not laminated. The actual paper.
They kind of like bound the paper in a book.
Yeah. Actual paper of 1872. You can go check it out yourself. But that's also crazy to touch a paper that's well over 100 years old.
That's crazy.
But they detail everything, and I got some things down here, and there's a breakdown of the $220 million in that time that was broken down. I'm gonna just go into just a little bit of detail. So they put the losses in detail listed here, just to give you an idea. Chicago lost $13 million in just dry goods.
Damn.
Okay, just dry goods. We lost. They even detailed boots, shoes, and leather. That was $5 million in losses. Furniture, roughly $2 million. Manufactories. Yeah, that's crazy. That's what it says right here. Manufactories. Stock, machinery, and product. 18 million. Right there. It did. Well, it's split. It's like the paper is creased, and then so that's 18.2 million.
Wow.
Other stocks was 22 million. That total of all this stuff, and I took out just a few things. I took out just a few things. It's a long list. That breakdown was $78 million just for that. 80 business blocks.
Damn.
$8.5 million. Railroads, Chamber of Commerce, and Warehouse, 2.7. Hotels, $3 million. Get this. Other taxable buildings, $28 million. Now that whole list, $52 million. $55 million in property loss. The big one being household property, $41 million.
Yeah, 100,000 people. That's
100,000 people.
Houses.
That total.
And a lot of expensive mansions.
Yeah. That total of everything, there's more to it. I mean, they break down flour, grain, provisions, salt, wood, lumber, coal, all that. Lumber, because we talked about it, that was $1 million in lumber that was burned, which you would think that would be a shit ton more for a whole city.
That's a lot of lumber.
That's a lot of lumber for back in that day. The whole total that Chicago, or like that, like I guess the things within the city was $193.8 million. Now,
jeez.
Yeah, where was the other stuff? So the closely estimated losses of the city of Chicago, just the city of Chicago, their losses. Public schools and furniture was the big one. Was one of the big ones. 250,000. The major one. This is crazy. Sidewalks. So now here's the thing.
Aren't them shits made out of wood?
Here's the thing. Now we make a big deal out of sidewalks. We've mentioned sidewalks. Mayor Hale Washington was the one to advocate for bigger sidewalks in Chinatown when he was during his time as mayor. And that was his big feat. So if you go to Chinatown, fun fact, the sidewalks are a little bit bigger. Thank you, Hale Washington, right? Yeah. Mayor. So the rest of the city ain't that big. Right? We could have had larger sidewalks, but back in the day...
Some sidewalks, you can't even walk two people.
Exactly. Guess how much money was lost in sidewalks alone? $941 million. $41,000.
Okay, I was like, $941 million.
So almost $1 million in sidewalks.
In the sidewalk business.
For real. And that was the biggest... That's the biggest cost of the city. That was the biggest cost for the city.
All them shit's gone.
And you got to think, that must have been transportation too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people on the sidewalk, that's how you get goods from place to place. So y'all can see where we going with this. Like there's a lot of like details in this year later paper. They do this the whole way, which is really crazy. Something else that they did that was very, to me, sad, right? It was just sad. I didn't take a picture of it on my phone. It's in the video. You can check it out. But they detailed all the events that were to happen October 8th, 71. And everything else that was canceled just because. Like,
do you remember any of them?
They list out like not black churches, but like it seems it reads.
I did see one church that opened the 8th and burnt the 8th.
Yes, so there was things like that was like didn't get off the ground. And it had taken
like 5 years to build.
Yeah, but they talk about amusement parks. Yeah. They were talking about all kind of like.
Now imagine how far along. But also, I feel like had the fire not happened, Chicago wouldn't have then developed all these great things that it did.
We would have had none of that shit.
Changed the world. I mean, you have the ordinance against like the building ordinance that came about, the new shoreline. Yeah, I mean, stuff we already mentioned. But
one last thing I want to read before we get out of here, because me and Sarah, we've already said we're gonna go back and get this paper, because there's some buildings in there that we've never talked about and that are in history. I mean, mass history, mass knowledge, haven't been talked about because they list them in that paper, but it's not like big thing. And we would like to see where some of these things are, right? And and what they were, because some remnants are still in that area. We can go to some of these locations, but that's for another day. But I do want to bring this last point up, which is really cool. So you remember the cheer up thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the year later paper, what they did was they reran that cheer up thing, Chicago Tribune. They reran the cheer up, but also in there they have a new section called cheering up, and I just want to read just a little bit of it.
Okay.
It says cheering up, cheering up, period. But this period of manifest despondency, and gloom was not of long duration. The majority, instead of weeping over their losses, set to work to repair them. They took the motto, their motto, catastrophic sign, all gone but wife, children, and energy, and acted up to it. There were numberless sore hearts, but those who processed them were too proud to show it, or were ashamed to be thought less than men. The creases in this is kicking my ass.
Yeah.
Plucky than rather something. It goes on, but nonetheless, they talk about how Chicago was cheering up, right? and that was and there's a shit ton more in that. But there you have it, man. Chicago fire. Like what a I could not imagine living in those times.
Yeah, me neither.
I couldn't imagine. I couldn't. You would right now, if you lost something like everything you had, your ass is done. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I
don't know how you come back from that.
I don't know. I mean, look, maybe that's why Chicagoans are the way we are right now. It's just literally in our new reset DNA. You know what I'm saying? Possibly. Because like you got to think about that mentality. Reset start 1872, right? You got to think from that, or October 11th, 1871. That was the reset.
Right.
So at that point, it's a chip on that shoulder forever. So we don't want to hear your bullshit about New York. We don't want to hear about like how we second this, second that. Man, we had to start over because we had to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm sure that shit was passed down for generations.
And we have alleys.
Right. And that shit in trash ain't on the ground. No, we can't. Man, New York ain't in the top 5 no more.
Of trash?
No. Oh. They number 1 in trash. But they not top 5 in our
listeners.
Anyway.
You can be.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, if you did enjoy this episode, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you learned some shit and you can share some fun facts on your next date or family reunion or if you have friends. But if you did not enjoy this episode, that's all right. Check back next week. I promise you that's going to be a very good one. And we'll see you then. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and we hope you loved it.
And if you could, please follow us on social media at 77 Flavors Shy on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter.
If you have any ideas or deep dives that you'd love us to do, please contact us at media@77flavorsshy. That's the number 77 flavors and shy for Chicago.com.
If you like visuals, please subscribe and follow and watch us on our YouTube channel at the same thing, 77 Flavors Shy, or search 77 Flavors of Chicago.
If you would like to support us monetarily, go ahead and click that Buzzsprout link in the description of this episode.
And as always, we gonna see you next week. Peace.